Hi, this is Joe with HiFi Corner's YouTube channel, and today I have a very special guest with me, Kat, the Global Sales and Marketing Director of SME, to introduce and explain some of the uniqueness of their top flagship turntable, the Model 60.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. No, thanks for coming up, Kat.
And it's cold
Yeah.
as hell here.
Yeah, so
I don't know if I get used to that.
We got the sun out, though. You brought the sun with you, so that's always a good thing.
That. Thank you.
So, Kat, let's dive right in because there's a lot to talk about the Model 60. A lot of innovation has happened with this guy.
Yes.
It's probably, if not the best turntable my ears have had a chance to listen to, which is, yeah, I got to save my pennies for about the next century, but that's okay.
Yeah.
For those lucky few who have this or are aspiring to get it, Kat, let's break it down.
First of all, we'll take your organs in on trade.
Okay, so. All right, sweet. I don't know if you'll want them after you have a look at them, but that's okay. We can always go to that link later on. So what do you want to talk about first? Should we talk about the Plinth first, or? Yeah,
I mean, I can just give a little overview.
Okay, yeah,
this is SME's flagship turntable, the Model 60. It came after years of development from the Model 30, which was out for decades. Everyone that is familiar with SME, they've been around since 1946. They're very familiar with the first developed turntable from SME, which is the Model 30. And you guys also know SME to have the suspension style turntable. Those are the towers that you see on the Model 30.
Yeah, those old ones that kind of look like, like a teepee of some sort. Yeah,
that's right.
Very effective.
Very effective and made for a specific reason, which is decoupling from the surface that you're putting the turntable on and proper isolation to make sure that this tiny needle is totally tightly controlled and picking up all the bandwidth that you can from vinyl.
Awesome.
So this is the Model 60. It is the top of the line and it took a long time to develop. And I guess we can kind of just get into it.
Yeah,
I'll start with the Plinth.
Yeah,
because
sweet.
the Plinth is very special and totally different from the Model 20, Model 30, Model 15 series, any of the other suspension style turntables. This is two solid aluminum billets that are acoustically tuned. What does that mean? Like if you were to flip this over, there's going to be different cut layers, different densities.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
okay,
different
cool.
layers to this Plinth that are measured on our CMM machine, coordinate measuring machine.
Right. Wow.
And we at SME, we're first and foremost engineers and designers, so we measure down to the microns.
Right.
So if something is not testing out, it does not leave our factory.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a great, kind of thing to be assured as the buyer that it's going to surpass all your guys' tests. And
we've modernized the factory. Seriously, we take the roof off of our factory to put in new machinery.
Wow.
And get it rebuilt in our original factory.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's really intense.
Yeah.
So it's a dual Plinth for a reason because again, like from the Model 20, 15, and 30, you wanted to couple any vibrations or isolation that can happen around in your environment and make sure that the cartridge is properly isolated.
Right.
What is really fantastic about the Model 60 Plinth is that we can do something like this brushed aluminum. We also have a brushed black that we can do.
Right.
And then we can also do something called a one of one, which is a beautiful, very specific to SME. We have our own in-house chemist.
Yep.
That
I've seen it when I went down to the factory.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Very impressive. Very impressive. Yep.
So he's testing with beakers different chemical combinations to obtain these beautiful colors to anodize our Model 60 Plinths in. And once we make that color for you, we'll take it off the market.
That's it.
So no one else can have that color. One and done.
One and done. Wow.
Very bespoke, very unique to the user that is buying their forever turntable.
I don't remember hearing that for anybody, around the industry. I don't think anybody else is doing that.
We control every single part about this turntable.
Yeah.
95% of our products are made in-house. The other 5 are outsourced to 2 other factories that are also in England.
Right. Okay. So everything's done here in the
total
UK.
control.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So yeah, we've got the brushed silver, black. Then you step up to the blue. We have a standard blue finish that we offer, and you can see that on the website.
That. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful blue.
And then you can also get 2 style etchings that we offer, which is honeycomb. A lot of people are familiar with the honeycomb.
Yeah, that's beautiful as well.
And then something called a starburst, which has these really beautiful.
Yeah, I've seen that down in the factory. It's really unique looking, isn't it?
Yeah, it kind of shines out from the platter, and it really looks like a starburst. But because of our etching capabilities, I mean, we can do pretty much anything that anyone wants to do. So like for a client, a private client that owns his own company, we actually etched his company's name into the side of the Model 60.
Oh, wicked.
So this is, again, this is like a pride of ownership when you're getting a turntable like this.
Yeah, at this kind of level, it's so nice to hear that you can have like a one and done, or you can have a unique aspect of it. And for a lot of people out there, they'll be like, well, that's not going to change the sound, or that's not going to change the performance. It's not about that. It's about saying, I have the flagship SME turntable that we know produces amazing sound, and this is unique to me and only me. And that, I think that's, at this kind of level, I think that's a beautiful thing to be able to
Well, and the
offer.
important thing is that the etching or anything that we are doing to make that unique to the customer is we do know how that's going to measure, and we do know how that's going to affect the table, because we have all of those capabilities.
So you actually know, by putting that name on the side, that this might have an effect.
The depth of it, where to put it on the side of the plinth, how to do it. Like, we know exactly how it's going to interact with the playback.
Well, that's why you guys are first and foremost engineers.
Well, you know. Well, they are, but that's why I moved across the pond for them. And you know, I'm just like, this is the creme de la creme of turntable brands.
Awesome.
So the towers, the suspension system.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
The suspension system that you saw on the Model 30 is actually now housed in the 60, and it's not just a vertical access, it's also a horizontal access. So there are 12 bands going on in each tower that are vertical and horizontal to control this plinth.
In total.
Yep. So you can level the feet, and it's got multi-point isolation. So the feet themselves do have isolation built into them as well. There's a lot of information going on with vinyl. You're opening up a bandwidth of like 10, 15 hertz to like, you know, whatever the spec says of the cartridge, but above human hearing. There's a lot of energy to control. And this is why our turntable is designed this way. It's on right now, and you can't hear it.
Yeah.
So
that's dead silent.
Yeah. That's another testament. You don't want to be able to hear what is going on with the turntable, just the cartridge and the speaker relationship. I would say this turntable is relatively like 75% set up when you take it out. Like, the arm is on the deck when you take it out of the crate. But you do have to tune the suspension. All the tools are made in SME's house, so they all fit perfectly to a T, and they have that rigidity and that really good feel. So when you are getting your hands on it, you don't feel like you're going to snap anything.
Can we talk about the platter and the bearing?
Yeah. So the platter, it's an aluminum alloy, and it is thicker than the Model 30 platter.
Right. Okay.
And it's got a very specific bonded isodamp material. It's bonded to it with a specific heating process. And SME is capable of also pressurizing a lot of their products in-house to ensure that we're putting years of wear on the materials.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we know how it's going to affect later on in the future.
You know how it's going to wear throughout time.
We predict the future.
Awesome. Engineering.
So then you've got a high carbon steel bearing with bronze brushings around. That, and again, this is different from the Model 30. That is seated in a very, very specific viscosity silicone bath.
Viewers out there, and for those who haven't had a chance to see one of these in person, when you see it going, if this record wasn't on here, or the clamp itself, you would barely even know that it would, you'd have to go up to it to make sure that it was still turning, because that's how silent and smooth it is.
I should say that, you know, the platter is going on to a sub platter that is interacting with the belt and the motor pulley. So this is, just for new people coming that are also looking at flagship turntables, this is a belt driven turntable. So that's really important to point out. And so you've got the motor, which is something that you will also level in the process upon setting up to ensure that that sub platter.
And you got a shim for that as well.
And we do have a shim for that.
It is, well, really a piece of art. You know, that creates something extremely beautiful.
And it fits in properly into a living space. You know, you're not dedicating an entire half of a living room for it. You know, it's not taller than you.
This is a normal HiFi solid steel rack, and it sits on it beautifully.
Yep.
You know, so it's going to fit on most racks. Definitely check your rack and make sure you got the depth and the width that you need. But it's not one of those huge cumbersome things that you're like, oh my God, I have to rearrange my whole living space. You know, it can just go in place of your last turntable.
Yeah.
So, and this is the same type of clamp that you guys have been using for years. The screw down, is that correct?
It's a screw down clamp.
Yep. Screw down
Smooth as
clamp.
butter.
Yep.
Yeah,
So,
it's very satisfying every time that you go to screw down and clamp the record.
So now, do you want to go to the Tonearm, or do you want to talk a little bit more about the motor?
Let's do the Tonearm.
All right, let's do the Tonearm because this is quite unique. So
this is the Series VA, the advanced. It's made from a polymer resin and a block of polymer resin. So this isn't like a 3D printed scenario.
Right.
And it is machined into a solid cut piece. And what is different...
So that's all one piece of material.
All one piece,
right.
yeah.
Okay.
And what is different about the Series VA versus the V, or the Series 5, is that this shape is actually... From a cone, this is called a trilobe shape. So it's going to have a little bit of a point to it, which gives it seriously more control and rigidity to it.
Is that this right here?
Yeah.
Is that what I'm seeing? Okay.
Like, again, we've talked about isolating this needle. Measurably, it's going to take a lot of the peaks and the dips that would occur with the magnesium tone arms, and it's really going to flatten out that response. It's going to become a lot more linear and controlled.
Right. Okay.
And it's just, in general, it's a better tracking, better testing tone arm.
Right.
And that's what you want.
And that's what you want. Yeah, that's what you want. You're trying, in all, honesty, with all hi-fi, especially your source, especially a turntable that has so many variants that can happen in it. You're always trying to get that linear response. You're trying to get that flat response, so the characteristics of what's cut into the vinyl can come out as they're supposed to, or as the artists and producers intended.
Yeah.
Of course you can add flavor by adding different cartridges, but if your unit itself is linear, like the Model 60, then you're that much closer to kind of experience the music, like I said.
SMEs are made to be a reference point. They're made to be just the thing that drives the whole analog system. Right. And you don't want it to interfere, impede with anything that's going on sound-wise.
And the VA helps the Model 60 achieve that.
100%. Yep. Yeah, it is. And again, this tone arm was tested to be tuned, at length, placement, everything about it with the style chassis. And the towers. And so it's like every single part of an SME plays a role. If you were to take a bolt out or modify the feet, it's not going to measure or sound the same.
It's not going to.
Plain and simple. We do have additional counterweight. So should you have a cartridge that is much heavier or lighter, and you need to adjust that extra, you need to adjust that extra weight because
just contact your dealer and we'll get you the counterweight that you need for your tone arm.
Yep.
Yeah.
You've got your fine VTF adjustment and anti-skate, and so these numbers on the dials are not arbitrary. They actually mean something. So when you're you can look in the manual, or you guys can consult HiFi Corner. When you are adjusting your Series V or Series VA tone arm, you float the arm first, you fine adjust with the VTF, and then you dial in your anti-skate based off of the grams that your cartridge is sitting in the grooves. So it does actually...
And because you get some of those inexpensive tone arms, or even expensive tone arms, where the numbers just mean absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about your choice of motor for this. So we know that it's free from the top plinth, so it's free from the bearing, it's free from the platter, it's free from the tone arm, so also free from the cartridge. So it's sitting on this bottom plinth, isolated, again, of course, with massive
isolation. And that's
actually
decoupled too, because it's got a spike.
Decoupled as well.
Got a spike mechanism that is sitting. It's sitting in cups.
Is it?
Yeah.
Really? Oh.
Yeah.
So that's even decoupled. So everything's, again, isolation.
It's an AC synchronous biphase motor, and it's using a DSP generator, a digital signal processing generator.
That's coming out of here.
Yeah.
Yep.
Two sine waves that are being tightly controlled with frequency and amplitude and phase. Right. And the speed control unit itself has a memory encoder inside of it. Okay. So when you turn the table on, you get it all set up. You're dialing in your speed, and say it's like 33.5 or something. Dial a little bit lower and you want 33.3, you're locked in. Yeah. When you turn it off and turn it back on, it's the same speed.
It's the same.
So it's a memory encoder. Yeah, for 33 and 45.
Once you're dialed in.
Yep. You're dialed in.
Okay.
Yep. And then our power supply has a really big fat toroidal transformer in it.
I think it weighs for how small it is, it weighs a ton.
Yeah. Everything is properly surface mounted, and they're all, this is going to be using the polymer resin coating
to help with vibrations
to isolate
and stuff.
it.
Yep. Awesome.
Yeah, and then
awesome.
of course the umbilical cords that are connecting the turntable to the speed control and the power supply, they're all supplied by SME. Those are made by SILTECH. And then the cabling inside of the Tonearm
just about to ask you about that.
crystal cabling.
This doesn't come with a Tonearm lead, and you guys did that purposefully, right? And can you explain to the viewers why you did that?
So when you're in this performance and you're running into some of the really high-end phono stages and you've got a truly balanced system, something that's very differential, you might actually require XLR output or RCA output.
Right, and you guys can do XLR
Model
outputs?
60 can come RCA
awesome.
or XLR.
I did not know that.
Yes.
I did not know that. Another thing I've learned today.
Yeah.
All right, I'm learning things all day.
And truth be told, when you're also in this price point, a lot of people have their, it's very specific to them what cables they're using.
Yeah.
So that part isn't necessarily a one-size-fits-all, but what we do is with the power supply, we actually give you guys a SILTECH power cable.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
So SILTECH umbilical cords, crystal cabling in the Tonearm, and a SILTECH power cable for the power supply. An SME is just there to drive your vinyl.
So basically,
it's the purest.
What SME is going for is to disappear.
Yeah.
And that's what SME, when you have a source that can truly disappear and you get to choose what things influence it, like the cartridge, like the cabling, like your amplification, like your phono stage, so on and so forth, that's when you know you got something truly unique in your system. This is a huge kind of misconception in our industry, is that people, this and that. And it's like, no, listen, we're paying all this money for it to go away. And if you can achieve that in your source, I would say you're 80% there.
Yeah, the source is huge.
Yeah, well, this is all the information that your amplification gets, that your speakers are fed. It all comes from your source. Yeah. And that's awesome. And that's, I know, because I've listened to it. Yeah. I know that's what the SME 60 and all the SMEs are trying to achieve. Yeah. Is for them to just disappear. And that's huge, guys. That's awesome. Call us, email us, get online and get onto our messaging system, make a date. We'll be happy to play this for you guys, and I think you'll be very impressed. Yeah. Appreciate you guys having me. Yeah, I know. Thanks, Kat, for coming in. Thanks for presenting this video. And thanks for sticking in tune with us. I know it's a longer video, guys, but we couldn't be more happy to have you here. Thank you so much. My name's Joe from HiFi Corner, and remember, always enjoy your music.